I don't know exactly what we're doing for bingo yet. I think we might do like a 3-line bingo. But this is for GDQ submission, Rogue Legacy to any percent, take one. I don't have a clapper. That's my best attempt at a clapper. Alright, let's get it. What's up, sunshine? Alright. We're staying on topic. We gotta talk about the game for an hour. I know it's hard. Alright. This is Rogue Legacy 2, any percent in 3, 2, 1, go. So the estimate for the game is about an hour. I think that, realistically, an hour is about a good time frame for including mistakes and otherwise. First thing we're going to do is skip the tutorial, and we're going to retire our first character. And we're doing this so that we can look for anything that's going to help us to beat the game a little bit faster. So we're looking for something that gives either some form of gold or some form of clown works. Some form of movement. The clown gives good movement options. So we're going to be able to do a few skips with this, do some fun movements. And also, I just love the clan. The clan is so much fun. So, Rogue Legacy 2, the point is to beat 6 main bosses in the 6 main areas, and then you beat the 2 bosses at the end after that. And that's the end of the game. It's roughly a run that takes about, I would say, on a good day around like a 50-minute time. Depends on the RNG, the castle generation, etc. But there are some things we could do to speed up that process. I am going to be not fighting any enemies during my travels. We're just looking for the heirlooms, which are going to be extra movement options that you can unlock throughout the game that allow you to do certain necessary progression, like dashing in the air, or double jumping, or dashing through void projectiles, or spin kicking off of yellow things. This is air dash. It's gonna be the first heirloom we grab. Hey, you're good, sunshine. Don't worry about it. Now, one of the reasons that we love Clown is because the Clown can spin kick off of anything that is basically tangible. Walls, floors, black water, which is this water that you see at the bottom of the screen. It's something that the normal characters can't do, but it allows for some cool routing. So we'll get to see that later. Actually, coming up right here, we'll get to see it. Because we're going to do our first kind of movement skip that involves the clown right here. We also have Kangen Therapy, which makes our jump super, super high, or our spin kick super high. So you combine that with Clown, and you could basically just go anywhere you want without any extra height modifiers, which is super, super fun. This is probably my favorite trait combination in the entire game. Does not avoiding enemies help you in some cases? Not really. The enemies themselves don't offer anything to you. They don't give you XP, they don't give you... Well, they give you gold, but not enough to make a difference. And we're going to see a lot of quitting out. When I get to an area that I want to basically warp away from, the fastest thing to do is just reset the game by quitting out and going back into the world. It will respawn you back at the start, which gives you a warp, which means that if you need to traverse to somewhere else or warp to another point and you don't have a close warp, then it gives you the option to do that. The most gold comes from bosses, and that's basically all the gold that we're going to be getting in the run. And what we're looking for in this castle, the reason I'm walking around so much, is because I'm looking for the entrances to the other zones. We are in Zone 1, we found Zone 4 and Zone 6. We are looking for Zone 2 actively. This is going to give us our next meta upgrade and allow us to spin kick off of yellow objects, resonant projectiles and such. I think it should be up here. If not, I have to go all the way back down. The reason we could take damage without really worrying about getting hit is because so long as I don't die, we do get full HP after, or at the start of every single heirloom we do. And since we're doing heirlooms throughout the run, we're healing pretty frequently until the boss rush. So this is going to be Echo Kicks. We can do a cool little skip on the outside since we have the clown instead of going all the way up and around. Normally you have to climb this entire tower and drop down from the outside. And along with this room, we can kind of just spin kick all the way up the wall. There is something that we do. The reason I'm getting hit there instead of just taking the warp point normally is because there's something called early control. If you touch the black water or get hit while you are transitioning rooms while doing heirlooms, then you will not receive the you'll be able to start moving as soon as you go to the next room instead of waiting for your character to spawn into the next room. And that was Echo Kicks. So the yellow things are the things that we can bounce off of. You can't do that unless you get this buff. And it's going to be immediately useful in the next area. Although since we are a clown, we don't necessarily need them. We can kind of just bounce off of anything. And we're going to use that to go over most of this zone. Save us a little bit more time than having to actually go through all these buildings. And this is something we can only do because we're the clown. Other characters wouldn't be able to go over all these buildings. And we're going to stop into these little rooms, these little chambers with the purple question mark on the map, because they have the chance to give us special rooms that will help us. We're looking for relics, but they can give apples to heal us. They can give weapon or spell changes. They could also give one more thing. Things that we're not going to use. Ricks, which basically take you to a small zone, give you an apple and a relic at the end. Useful, but unfortunately they are slow. So we'll be ignoring them. We're going to keep going over everything in this area. And while I do, I will tell you a little bit about how to progress through the game. So each area has a boss that you have to defeat in order to unlock one of the 6 black roots that are holding the final boss's door open or closed. If you... Also, this is Maria. We're going to use her later, but she's the local pizza girl. There are some bosses that are locked behind certain things, like in order to even progress through the 5th area normally, you need double jump in order to get the height, and void dash in order to use the dashing platforms that are scattered throughout the area. In order to get to Nama, the 3rd boss normally, you need double jump, so we'll be collecting all the heirlooms regardless, with the exception of one, which doesn't offer any progression type anything. There are 2 bosses that require you to defeat 2 mini-bosses in order to unlock their doors, that being the 4th and 6th boss. Oop, I want that. And we're going to be doing a couple of things in this run to attempt to kill the bosses faster. This should work. The relics you see me picking up all give us buff to something. So the yellow ring I have right now gives me basically an extra life. The Gray Shield gives me 10% more damage if I'm above half HP. We're going to be picking up a bunch of these relics throughout the run, hopefully picking up enough relics to do a substantial amount of damage to the boss. Since this is a roguelite, you're expected to kill off your character a couple of times, use the gold to upgrade your stats, and then use those stats to eventually beat those bosses. We're gonna try to do this in only 1 or 2 lives, which means that we do not want, which means that we do want the all the relics we can get to upgrade our damage, because we're not going to have a lot of it unless we find relics that increase our damage. Worst case scenario is we're fighting all the bosses with our base damage. It will take much longer than it should, but it's doable. The goal is to find enough relics to at least double our damage would be nice. There's not a guarantee of that, since it is a roguelite. So we do have to get lucky. But I would say that worst case scenario, we still finish in under the estimate. Which I should have on the screen. The estimate's in. Especially with the clown, we're able to move around a lot faster than most of the other classes. So we should be coming up on double jump soon. When HP is 100%, sounds interesting. The other benefit of Panganthropy, which is giving us all this extra height from our spin kicks, is that the spin kicks deal, I think, like 2.5 times their base damage. How many relics can you use, and how many heirlooms? There is 1, 2, 3, 4 heirlooms in the run that we need to get for movement. This is the 3rd one, and the 4th one is Void Dash, which we'll see in Area 4. The relics are uncapped, but the relics have a give and take to them. So a relic is going to give you some sort of extra buff, but it will also take away Resolve typically. Resolve is the percentage that you see in the upper left corner of the screen. If that percentage goes below 100%, then your HP equal to its percentage below 100% will also decline. You can go all the way down to 0% Resolve. You'll be left with 1 max HP. And in an ideal run, we would use that to our advantage, because there are certain relics that can benefit from being low Resolve. But only if we find them. If we don't find them, then going below Resolve really doesn't benefit us at all. It will just hurt us. So right now we're looking for the 3rd boss chamber. You saw me pick up this pink flower earlier. That is a Lily of the Valley. A Lily of the Valley is a sacrifice or offering that's needed to unlock the 3rd boss, Nama's Door. So we are looking for a 2nd one, and there it is. There are 3 scattered around, so even if you do not find all 3 of them, it still gives you the benefit of potentially finding 2. That was the 3rd Lily of the Valley. If you collect 2 Lilies of the Valley and then turn them into Nama, or unlock the door, then the 3rd one will transform into a relic. So we are going to come back later and hope that it's turned into a useful or damage relic, since it is fairly close to the starting area. We can warp right to it. Okay. That is Nama's chamber. We're going to warp back to the start real quick and grab up or check on that Lily. Hopefully it's transformed into something we can use. You saw me pick up the spindle earlier, the little yellow guy. That's not the ring. That relic gives me 10% critical chance. So a little bit of a damage increase. And this guy is Kosa's Shell. I will take that. Costs 45 resolve, so I'm officially under my 100%. So you'll see my health start to decline. But this gives me a damage reduction, 1 damage reduction for every 6 enemies I kill. You cannot stack it. So we're going to take a little bit of extra time just to kill some enemies here. Just to start getting it stacked. The goal is to not stack it all the way right now, but just be able to finish stacking it later if I need to. And I also did not mention the class we're playing right now is the Knight. The Knight has a shield ability, which allows you to negate or partially negate damage. There goes my relic. That's why we get the extra life. Negate or partially negate damage by using your shield. It will negate half the damage of any attack that's not perfect block, and a perfect block will fully negate all the damage. So we hit our 6 stacks, which means the next hit is not going to kill me. If I did not have this shield right now, any hit would kill me. The enemies in this area are starting to do a lot more damage than... that was perfect shield. Enemies in this area are starting to do a lot more damage than I can realistically take. So we're going to hope to not get hit anymore. But stranger things have happened, so probably be playing a little bit safer. Right now we're looking for 2 chambers, well really 1. The Void Dash, which is the last heirloom, is somewhere in here. It is a very large chamber that's always going to be to my right. Not necessarily the right of the map, but it has to connect from its left. Which means I'm going to keep going to the right until I find it. And hopefully... I don't think it's here. I think it's going to end up being... oh, could be there. We'll see. There we go. This is the room we're looking for. So this is going to give us Void Dash. The more damage you do, the better, I'm assuming, for the bosses to be faster. Yeah, so the biggest thing that keeps this run from being, I would say, like 2 hours plus, is the amount of damage you can do. The bosses themselves gain a decent amount of health as the zones get harder. So by the end, if you have the base damage, you probably take at least 3 minutes to kill the boss with the base damage. Their health bars get quite insane. So any damage that I can get is a huge plus. Right now, we don't have too much. We only have a 10% damage boost, which really is not that much. And I need to stack my free hit again, unfortunately. But luckily, in this version of the run, we're able to spend the gold between our characters to get a few extra damage buffs. So hopefully we won't be fighting all of the bosses with pitiful damage. But right now, it's not looking the best. I can tank 1 hit in this area, but my shell did pop, which means I'm going to have to farm up another 6 hits. Or, sorry, 6 enemies. Shouldn't take too long. I already had 1 from the heirloom, so that's 4, 5, and 6. Okay. So the next hit I take will not kill me. And I can also find an apple if I'm lucky. That's really nice. Serrated Handle Bargain is one of the best single item damage buffs in the game. It doubles incoming and outgoing damage. So since I have a free hit, I won't take any damage, but all my damage currently is doubled. And that's another free life. So basically I have right now 2 hits, 1 blocked damage and 1 revive. So we're going to start doing our boss rush right now. Yo, what's up, Raphael? How you doing? Now, in the version of the speedrun we're doing for the game right now, typically you would do all the bosses back to back to back to back. But to make things more consistent for marathon events, we're going to do only some of the bosses as we go along. So that way, at least if we die, we can use that gold to make ourselves a little bit stronger and also lock down the castle, which you'll see later. There is an NPC called the Architect. If you unlock him and lock down your castle, then the map, which normally changes run to run, will stay exactly the same at the cost of 20% of your gold gains. Alive? Well, alive is good, man. Boss number 1. And we're looking to do boss numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 right now. And if our survivability options are still there, we'll continue into Area 5 and maybe even Area 6, because we have double base damage. So even if I do die and spend my gold, I will not have this much damage with my next character. So the longer I keep this guy alive. This is Axis and Garth. They are the second boss of the game. That was really close. Good. Their health bars aren't that bad. They're just very large and like to cover the screen with projectiles, so... a little bit of shield use, and they're not too bad to take care of. Every time you beat a boss, you get a giant chest filled with an amount of gold. Basically, the first boss will give you 1,000 gold, and then you get 500 more per area up that you are going. So that should have given us around 1,500. This boss will give us around 2K. And this third boss uses a few things that weren't used in the other bosses. The first thing you'll notice is these resonant projectiles. She throws them a lot. The resonant projectiles we need the echo kicks for, if we want to actually clear them. So that's one of the reasons that we need to actually collect the heirlooms. The other thing is something that is actually the only place in the game that it's used in terms of a boss. But there's an heirloom we didn't collect that allows us to quell these nightmares. These guys, if you attack within their radius, they will shoot a resonant projectile at you. The heirloom is supposed to allow you to quell them so that they, for a time, do not attack you. But it turns out that in this boss fight, they just give you that ability, so you don't actually ever need to collect that heirloom, which is really nice. Helps us a lot. Because that heirloom takes probably another, I'd say, at least 60 seconds to clear out. So a nice little time save for us. Alright, that's boss number 3. How much gold do you generally need for a good run? So, the runs will vary depending on what strategy you're using. In a run where you want to go for like a super competitive time, typically you would, before the most recent strategies, you would want to get a gold gaining trait that would at least give you 50% more gold than you would typically get from these bosses. So in that instance, I would say 13 to 18,000, maybe 20 if you're lucky. Whereas with the strategies I'm currently using, I just need the base amount. But the more gold you get, the more stats you get. So generally, if you're newer to the game, you're going to want to get as many stats as possible. So anything that increases your gold is useful. That being said, the highest gold gaining trait you can get is something called Compulsive Gambler, which is something that I used to use a lot. I actually love it. What it does is it gives you a 50% gold bonus. It takes away the ability for enemies, regular enemies, to drop gold, and it will only give you gold from chests, but it'll also give you a random multiplier on any chest you open, from 0% gold to 350% gold. So it is the highest gold gaining trait, potentially the highest gold gaining trait in the game. On average, it's the highest gold gaining trait in the game, and it allows you to get a lot of stats really quickly, and I highly recommend to use it if you are looking to do a like a gold gaining run. The strats we're currently using use a trait called Compulsive Hoarder, which it is the only other compulsive trait in the game. I don't know why I like both of them. But Compulsive Hoarder makes it so that any relic you see shows up as a twin relic if it's able to, which means that, like the rings I picked up earlier, it could show up as a double relic, which means that instead of having one free revive, I have 2 free revives. And the reason we use that is because there are some very good damage gaining, or there are some very good damage relics that stack on top of each other really, really nicely. There's one that we use and we're looking for called Raven's Ring. Raven's Ring will give you 1% bonus physical damage for every 1% resolve below 125% that you are. So right now, since I'm at 5%, I would be getting 120% more physical damage just for one Raven's Ring. And if you find 2, 3, 4 in a run, then your damage goes up astronomically. And that damage value can't be matched by any other relic. It is that strong, and it is the only relic that is that strong that can be stacked. Most of the other relics, like the one that I got that doubles damage, both given and received, that one cannot be stacked. It is a unique relic, and if you find another one, it'll turn into a basically a placeholder relic called an Empty Vessel, giving you, I believe, 10% damage, 10% magic and physical damage, and 10% health. So that was Enoch, the 4th boss. But unfortunately, this is also Enoch, the 4th boss. This is the only time where you fight well, basically 2 bosses back to back, not at the same time. Enoch's got a very interesting backstory over wanting to find eternal life and turn himself into a mimic to preserve knowledge. A bunch of random stuff, but now we have to fight this chest after fighting his other odd vessel. And that's that fight. So I've beaten every boss up till this point, which means we can go into Area 5. My favorite combination of relics, there are 2 relics that will make it so that you basically don't die at 1 HP. One of them is, you've already seen it, Hyperion's Ring, which gives you a free revive. The other one is something called Lotus Stem, which if you have 150 mana, it will consume that mana instead of dealing damage to you. So it's basically a free hit at the cost of mana. And 1 Lotus Stem will give you two free hits. But in terms of damage, my favorite is definitely just having Raven's Ring, because you could combine it with literally anything, and it will always give you the damage buff so long as you're losing resolve. We don't need a wand. This is also my second favorite area in the game because, as you can see, it is very tall. And most of it's just outside, so you're not locked into a bunch of different rooms with all these enemies. You can kind of just ignore all of them pretty easily and run around as much as you want outside until it forces you inside. Which is very useful when you're trying to go fast if they leave these purple platforms around, because these things give you quite a bit of height pretty quickly. And this is boss 5. We need to beat boss 5 before going into area 6 because the last heirloom that we obtain is just given to us if boss 5 is dead. Yo, what's up, Taco? My preferred damage negating relic, I'll be honest, it's just Hyperion. It gives you 1 free hit, but when you're trying to go fast, worrying about your total mana, or worrying about having 150 mana isn't really good, and having to kill 6 enemies in order to get a damage negation also is not great. They both slow down the run. So even though it's just 1 hit, I would prefer to have just a Hyperion. I don't think the seed from yesterday is good enough to run seeded competitively versus the one that we already have, because I don't think that seed will produce a compulsive horde like it did in the natural generation. If it did, though, that'd be awesome. I would definitely at least look into it. That was very close. So, boss 5 is, if anybody is familiar with Hollow Knight, basically the Mantis Lords from Hollow Knight. You start by fighting 2 of them, and then the 3rd one at the bottom joins in. All of them have a hitbox, and they all share a health bar. They have some very satisfying pattern-looking attacks. So for the most part, if you're paying attention, you could dodge all of them. They have some tricky ones that they'll throw at you, combinations every once in a while, but generally not too bad. Jonah is going to give us Sun Lantern, so now we can go underground. And if I can... Whoa, hello. If I can, we're going to try to stack our Coast... Oh, that was a bit of lag. Interesting. We're going to try to stack our Coastal Shell again. Because I was afraid I would lose my Master Relic. It's fine. I have infinite free hits if I take the time to actually kill enemies. Which is not ideal. I would prefer not to. Alright. That's the 6th boss chamber. Like boss 4, we do need to unlock the room. That's my free hit that I just got. Awesome. So it's going to be a little bit slower moving through here, but preserving this damage would have been worth it. And that's typical. So with that death, we're going to find what is normally the best part of the run, which is switching to our 2nd class of the game. When you are unlocking classes, you can choose to change to them whenever you unlock them. So we are going to unlock and change to the Duelist. And that should be good. Level 31, not bad. We have quite a bit of strength. And all that soul that we ended up getting, which you may not have seen the soul we were getting, we have 500 right now. We can use it to make sure that we always spawn with a Duelist in future runs. by getting preferential treatment. Gonna make sure we have a Duelist, and we will unlock something else that will be useful here. What does the Sun Lantern do? Typically it's very dark in Dry Lake. This makes it a little less dark. You'll notice there's like a black fog around me. That's normally a little bit closer in. Makes it a lot harder to see everything around you. So it doesn't clear up your vision, but it does make it better. And the reason that we use the Duelist is two reasons. The first being the Duelist has combat roll, which gives you the best movement option in the game. It's on a 2-second cooldown. It lets you roll, which is self-explanatory. You could use it mid-air, you could use it on the ground, but it negates all damage while you're rolling. So we're going to use that to negate as much damage as we can. And you go left. Ideally, we don't take damage here. And we are looking for two things. Oh no. No, we're fine. No, we're not fine. Is there an extra... Oh, there's an extra ping all the way over there. I'm like, I'm missing one. So each of these forks indicates a specific room that you need to find. I was lost for a second because I was missing a room. It's just really far away. But these forks tell you where these special rooms are. This is the white key to unlock the white room. We have the black key, but we haven't found the black room. That's because it's all the way over there. This is such a long walk. And these guys deal quite a bit of damage. You saw I took one hit and I'm already at half health. That's pretty normal, so taking any hits is not the best idea. Oh no! I made a mistake. I died in the last run, which means that I don't have the black key that I picked up. We'll have to go back and get it. That's okay. I've already went through all those rooms once, so hopefully I don't get hit by anything in those rooms again. But that's perfectly fine. And yes, these keys that I'm picking up do count as relics, and they do cost resolve. So having both of them on my person is cutting my max HP. Ideally, it doesn't matter. On rare cases, it will. Good thing we left this apple here. I still can't tank a hit, but that's okay. Got a little bit of HP. I could take one hit, so that's good. So these hands are not necessarily locking a door, but they are chaining up a dragon. The dragon is one of our favorite characters in the game, because he is the only thing in this game that you can pet. But in order to pet the dragon, you have to beat the boss. So after we beat him, we do unlock probably the best feature of the entire game. Other than being able to eat pizza, I would say that petting the dragon is the second best thing in the game. But I'm a foodie, you may disagree. That's totally okay. We all have our opinions. One of these guys is a basically a control mage. The other one is more of a close range pursuing type. The control mage we always take care of second because he's not chasing us around the map. And typically he keeps to himself. The dragon is super cute. Eat pizza, then pet dragons. And there's Layden, the dragon. We got one more chain. We're going to go unlock that. Just a second. I'm going to make a quick stop for chicken. And I also should have mentioned this a lot sooner. But the constant pausing I'm doing isn't just random pausing. Whenever you press select, you open up the map. The map will show you basically the connections on the rooms that you're in. So when I open up the map, I'm checking the connections to see where in that room I need to go in order to get to the next room. If you do it enough, then you get pretty fast at recognizing where those rooms are. So even though it looks like I'm just pausing and unpausing basically every room I walk into, there is a purpose for it. These are the last mini-bosses before we get to unlock the dragon and fight the 6th and final boss of the open. Fortunate. These guys are a lot more zone control focused. One of them bounces around the room like an old Windows desktop screensaver. And the other likes to chase you around and then shoot fireballs. So, that is the final mini-boss. Hopefully we can beat the boss now, but since the entire map is unlocked, if we don't beat him, we can just respawn as a new character, teleport to him, and try again. There's normally a buff on the castle where you can heal every time you enter a boss chamber. I did not get that, so we just have to live with being one hit from dead. This boss uses a lot of mechanics. He uses the Void Dash mechanic, he uses the Echo Kicks mechanic, he's the only boss in the game that spawns ads while you're fighting him. He is the worst. I don't know if... I know people have said, and somebody I know says that his least favorite boss is the 4th boss. I would much rather fight Enoch than fight this man. Because this man just controls so much of the screen for no reason. Every single attack he does covers basically half or the entire screen. There are these swords that fall from the sky. He has, obviously, the one where he spawns ads. He has an attack where he shoots massive void projectiles over the entire room, shoots blades over the entire room. And then as you fight him, the room gets even smaller and more cramped. Because he is I want to say the only boss with a phase 3. No, there's one more boss with a phase 3. That's the final boss. He got the Omega boss treatment. Once we get down to a 3rd gear, we get a little more claustrophobic. Now there's blades on the side of the room. And if I'm lucky, he won't spawn ads again, but he might do it one more time. You can do it 3 to 4 times a fight. There they are. Awesome. And that is the entire game, outside of the final 2 bosses. Basically, all the exploration is done. Now all we have to do is beat up a couple of men The entire game, you're running around, you're beating bosses, and you keep running into this guy. His name is Jonah. If you know the lore of the game, he's got a very... he's basically integral to the entire story. But he's also the gatekeeper of the final goodie you need to beat the game, which is the... I think it's called the Seed of Life, the Fruit of Life. Basically, it's something that our brother Cain needs to extend his immortality. And we end up poisoning it to try to stop this tyrannical rule. But we can't get it unless we go through Jonah. Jonah uses basically all of the weapons that we can use, be it the axe, spoons, scythe, arrows, pizza, all the weapons that we can use in the game. He basically uses like half of them for his attacks. Even more of them later on, and he also gets relics if you fight him later on. But he's basically us if we had to fight us. Except he gets more than one weapon. I don't know why that's the case. We only get one weapon. Apparently he's got more pockets than us. This is just about it, though. My favorite weapon in the game is the saber. It is the best weapon DPS-wise. True. I don't need to worry about the lore. I just need to get this fruit out of it. So you saw we obtained the final heirloom, and now we go get to fight the actual final boss. And this run went pretty well. I think we only had one accidental death. So we do have a little bit of time for some fun at the end here. Now, the reason we unlocked Maria is... this is the only reason. She allows you to unlock teleporters naturally in the game, but the only reason we really care about Maria is she will allow us to warp back to this room immediately, instead of going back into the castle, and then having to go through this entire, go in the door, come here all again. She saves us a walk, basically. So we can... those rooms that you saw are relic rooms. We didn't get the best relics, so I'm just going to retire this hero. We'll talk to Maria. She'll warp us back here. We'll see new relics. And we'll see if we can find some good damage stuff. Make this last boss exciting. It is quite a big time save. It depends on how far into the game... or it depends on how many times you have to re-roll. But if you do re-roll, say even 3 or 4 times, she can save you upwards of 30 seconds or more. So we're going to talk to her after we unlock the castle. Now we have all of our gold back, and these relics can spawn new relics. And the things we're looking for here are anything that gives us like double damage. We'll check this out. Oh, okay, so we did get double damage, but we pulled the worst relic in the game, which gives your main weapon attack a 1.5 second cooldown. So unfortunately, we had double damage, but it was unusable. We will try a couple more times, see if we can pull something good. What's up? We are currently recording our run for GDQ submission. Oh, we got the double damage, and there's no drawbacks. We'll take 10%. Alright, so let's try to finish strong. Earlier you saw me get one more thing from the soul shop, that is Lightning Storm. Or it allows me to lock my, spell. We lock Lightning Storm because we don't have a lot of magic damage this run, But Lightning Storm applies vulnerability, which lets us do guaranteed critical strikes every single attack, which drastically increases our total DPS. Which is why we're already through phases 1 and 2, and we're gonna soon be through phase 3. If you are just maxing out strength, it is without a doubt the best spell in the game. We used to use fire or flame barrier because it itself did the most damage of any magic spell. But we also used to not lock down our spell. So there's been a few changes in the route, and one of them allows us to actually unlock that spell, or lock down that spell. So we do get to choose. The other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to retire immediately after beating him and unlocking the chest, because we're going to look for a little time save in this final stretch. To find that time save, we are going to look for basically flight. Flight, infinite height. There's a lot of verticality in this last section, so we're going to see if we can skip some of that. That works. Immortal Kotetsu lets us do this. So there's a couple of extra jumps we can make with that. That'll save us a little bit of time. We're almost done, but we can't interact with that stone. In order to beat the game, we do need to be able to interact with it, so this is the last heirloom. Now, normally this heirloom allows us to interact with these stones. We do want to skip as many of them as possible, since they do take a long time to charge. So we can use it to skip a couple of platforms. There are a few options that give you like actual flight, some sort of infinite height. Unfortunately, we didn't pull any of those, but this dash does work pretty well for overall just movement. So we do get some time save out of it. And we're almost done with the game. RTA timing ends when we touch the big stone at the end. You will know it when you see it. But this run is based off of in-game time. So the in-game time varies drastically from the RTA. Luckily, we don't need to worry about that during this event. All that matters is that we are going to have finished in under an hour. Alright. That is time, and that is Rogue Legacy 2. That was fun. That went pretty well. I'm happy with that. There was honestly not many hiccups. That's probably like a better case scenario with what we're doing today. Worst case scenario would obviously be taking a bunch of deaths, but that was pretty clean. Timing ends at the big rock and not the parade, because that is the last input you need to finish the game, technically. If the game ends when you get to the final island, outside of, like, not actually, like, seeing the parade, then the last input would be the stone. But also, the timing was made up arbitrarily by other people, and I'm just going along with it. You do have to move to see the credits, you're correct. Say you'll only finish throwing when donations come in. Nah, I'm good. $42.08, not bad. That would be a second place time right now. Well, third place. Oh, I'm happy.